It's shocking that 1 in 7 workers are unpaid carers, and this has a huge impact on employee retention. So join Nic Booth, founder of Daughterhood UK and a passionate advocate for unpaid carers, who shares the powerful insights behind a mission to support the sandwich generation, who are juggling work, family and caregiving. Discover why many carers don't even realise they're in the role and how recognising this can unlock support both at work and at home. Nic's journey to leading a national social care initiative is nothing short of inspiring, and she opens up about how personal loss and hands-on caregiving, which drove her passion, and how a coach helped her to shed limiting beliefs about kindness and to challenge management norms. You'll learn practical frameworks for supporting unpaid carers, from fostering employer awareness to integrating social care conversations into company culture. This episode matters because failing to support unpaid carers costs individuals and businesses, but transformative change is within reach. So whether you're a leader, HR professional, or someone navigating caregiving yourself, you'll walk away with a clear action and a new perspective on leadership's power to make a difference. Welcome to Managing Potential, the podcast where we go behind the scenes with the world's most impactful leaders. Each week, we sit down with a seasoned manager to deconstruct their greatest breakthroughs, their toughest challenges, and the life lessons they've gathered along the way. So, if you're looking to turn talent into performance, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Daniel Taylor, a coach, a management and leadership developer, and this week I'm joined by Nic Booth, the founder of Daughterhood UK. Nic is a carer who has navigated the health and social care system whilst juggling work, family life and the emotional challenges that come along the way, as well as studying for a doctorate in social care, which is focusing on leadership. Nic has been a registered care manager, a home care consultant across 30 offices nationally, and now leads Daughterhood UK, which provides unpaid carers with support, guidance and the community to be part of. Nic, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Daniel. Nice to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you here today. Can you tell me a bit more about you, but also Daughterhood UK, and what it involves and what you do?
So I suppose it's kind of, where do I go back to? So I think it's really important to say, whenever I tell anybody that I'm doing a doctorate, I think it's really critical to say I actually left school with 1 GCSE. Nothing below my belt. I'm not academic, and I still say that to this day. I'm not an academic person. But along the way, I found a passion for health and social care. And I think once you find your passion for what you want to do, that drives and motivates you into doing what you need to do to make that happen. So after leaving school, did a few admin jobs here, there and everywhere, ended up in maternity after I had my children, because I wanted to be a midwife, of course, like everybody does after you have children.
Absolutely.
I did that for around 7 years, and then my grandma went into care home, and it was really her experience of being in that residential setting that drove my passion towards social care. And I quickly became her advocate when there was things that I felt didn't align with my values and morals that I was witnessing that she was experiencing. And she lived to be a grand old age of 100 years old. She was a phenomenal woman. She always used to say she was living to get the telegram from the Queen. And when she got the telegram, she was like, she doesn't even know who I am. I don't know what she's sending me that for. But that led to me going into social care. So I went to work for a local home care provider just as a field care supervisor, and did a work-based degree in a foundation degree in community and social care. And that was where my kind of academic ventures kind of started. And I progressed with that company to their registered manager, then to the ops manager, then to the general manager. And then I went to work at their national office, where I had a portfolio of 35-ish offices nationally, where I travelled up and supported them with business growth. And I've worked for a couple of other home care franchises where I do very similar roles. But I think what's really important to say along the way is I genuinely, truly believe that I wouldn't be who I am today or where I am today, or have had the success that I've had I not have had a phenomenal woman who coached me during my time as an operational manager. She was an executive coach called Jackie Templey. And she believed in me, and she really pivoted my career. And I always say I am where I am today because of her, without question. I've also been an unpaid carer. So my dad passed away when I was in my 30s, and my mum and brother are both diagnosed with myotonic muscular dystrophy. So I moved them both in with me, and we have an annex at the back of my house where my mum and brother lived. My mum passed away actually last year, but my brother still lives with me. So I've been their unpaid carer and I've been their unpaid carer since then. But what I would say with that is I never knew I was an unpaid carer. And despite the fact that I've worked in the sector for the period of time that I have, I would never have identified myself as an unpaid carer. I always just thought I'm being a daughter, or I'm being a sister. I'm doing what any family member would. But yeah, that is kind of what has driven me to launch Daughterhood UK, is because I know, and I've got the experience that I've got in the sector, but I've had to fight for every single thing that they've got. And I've had to lead with kind of my integrity and my need and want to get the best for them. But it's been challenge after challenge after challenge. And had I not have challenged it, they wouldn't have the things and I continue to do it, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
But it's really just about having that support around you. And I think people around you, I have a phenomenal friend network who are really supportive, but I think unless you've actually been through what you've been through as a daughter, trying to navigate your children and your relationships and working full time and studying, and then you're also an unpaid carer, it's such a challenging, it's what they call now the sandwich generation, right? We're trying to be at home, we're trying to work, we're trying to juggle everything. So it's really just to have a place for those people to be seen and heard. And it's called Daughterhood from my own experience. It's not just bucketed for daughters, though, of course. But yeah, and it's really about supporting. I've always been very lucky. I have employers that have really supported me because I work in the sector that I work in. So with my family dynamic that's happened, they've always been incredibly supportive. But there are employers out there that aren't and don't even know that they have unpaid carers in the workforce. And they say 1 in 7 people in the workforce are an unpaid carer, and there's 600 resignations every single day because of people that have to leave because of unpaid care needs at home.
Wow.
So it's really about working with employers to support and retain unpaid carers in the workforce.
So, God, there's so much to unpack there. So, I'm sure there's people at home now listening to this, or on the commute or whatever, who are in that same position, that they don't recognise that they are an unpaid carer. So, I assume that if they are now listening to this and going, "Oh, this is there's bells ringing here," that they can go to, I guess, your website and get some support and really start that journey of working out next steps maybe.
Yeah, and I think the biggest challenge is that it's kind of what I say the parents that we're working with at the generation currently is very much of the expectation of family should support them. However, the dynamics are very different now. We're all working full time. Back in their day, people working part time, they're working around the partners and things. Whereas now you're trying to juggle everything, and that kind of expectation hasn't shifted yet. So it can be things just as having to sort appointments, taking phone calls at work, trying to navigate social workers, trying to look at care, but family are resistant to care because they just want you to do it, right? Why can't you do it? You're the daughter, you're the son, you can look after them. And it can be just simple things like that, or you're driving home every night and you're going to check on them and make sure they've got the tea. That is an unpaid carer. You are supporting people with their needs from a health and social care perspective. So, of course, the website is daughterhooduk.co.uk, and there's lots of things on there where you could just reach out, and I'd be more than happy to support any way that I can, of course.
And if I'm an employer listening to this and I'm going, do you know what, this is something we've not supported on, or we haven't acknowledged this directly either in our policies or in our approach, what's the first thing, or what could that employer start to do to actually make a change to support unpaid carers?
I think it's have the conversation, like make it part of your language, run lunch and learns about social care and how to navigate social care. I think what employers are fantastic at is your EAP, your employment assistance programs, when people are stressed and anxiety, depression, and they need counselling. But actually, like, why don't we get in there before that happens? Why don't we support people with navigating the needs that they've got in front of them rather than letting it get to overwhelm? Because we're supporting them with tools to help them navigate it rather than letting them become stressed and having to resign or having to reduce the workload. And the other thing is, typically when you've got a lot going on at home and you're overwhelmed, you don't want to talk, you're not as productive because your mind's elsewhere. And actually taking that time out to support those people will drive more for a bit from a business perspective, but also from a retention and a human perspective too.
Absolutely. So thinking about that then, as you know, a manager and as a leader, reflecting back on when you were the manager, what type of manager were you?
Mm-hmm. So it's really funny. So it's not funny now. In hindsight, I'm like, oh. But I was always told when I was a registered care manager that I was too nice. You know, she can't be a manager, she can't be a leader. She's too nice. And I think because I had people around me saying that, I believed I was too nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so that when there was any kind of challenging conversations, I thought, God, I can't have them. I'm too nice. How am I going to have that conversation with them? Because I'm not going to be able to do it because I'm too nice to them. And that was where the coaching really helped me, because she obviously had the briefing that I was too nice. And then when she met me, she was like, you are not too nice. I don't know who's told you you're too nice, but you're not. So she used different tools. So she did like disc mapping, which is like your dominance, your influence, steadiness and compliance. And then she also did emotional intelligence on me. So when she got all these reports back, she was like, you are not being your own authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my manager would be saying, I'm absolutely not too nice. And if I've got something to say, it will be said.
Good.
I'm very passionate about what I believe in. And I think that's, so what I would say now is I'm a very different person than I was. And I've found who my own authentic self is and what I want to be known for as a leader and as a manager. And that isn't not having challenging conversations. I think as humans, we need to have challenging conversations, but I think it's about having respect behind it, integrity behind it, and wanting the same outcome.
Absolutely. Do you know, I think it's so powerful to actually understand who you are. And I think, you know, sometimes people can share views and opinions that actually might be masked through insecurities or whatever else. And actually, there is a real impact to that. So I'm a coach. I love coaching. That was my big light bulb moment. You know, you're talking about this, but I was exactly in the same place, very lost, not knowing where I needed to be. Had some coaching, and it was literally like the light bulb went off in my head. And I was like, I get it now, and I understand what I needed to do. And being that manager that you want to be or need to be or truly are. And I always look back on, you know, you mentioned the coach who's helped you. I always look back on a particular manager who helped me and gave me that guidance and really helped me navigate the challenges that I was trying to work through, because we're all in this together. So I think having that is super important. It sounds like coaching has really helped you.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I always think, like, you should be nice as a leader. There's a difference between a leader and a manager, and a leader is somebody people want to follow, and you have to have people on your bus going in the right direction, believing in you as a leader to enable that. Otherwise, they're going to go in the opposite direction.
100%. And it's good to be a nice leader and a nice manager. You know, there's boundaries and all that, which I totally get. But yeah, like you say, you need to be on the same path with that individual. So yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah.
And I can absolutely hear your passion, and that is one of the things that you absolutely need within health and social care. It's a tough role, but also equally rewarding. My partner's in the same industry and absolutely loves it, and it's fantastic. Um, how do you develop those around you, or how do you continue to develop that potential?
I think the most important thing for me is that somebody has somebody that believes in them. So if you know anybody that I've worked with or anybody that I know will have this thing, it'll be on my grave when I die. Actually, I genuinely believe that you can do anything you set your mind to, and people just need somebody that will believe in them to enable that belief to fall through. I mean, ultimately, it's not kind of about that. I'm going to think about it, so it's going to happen type thing. Right? Thinking takes action, but I think having somebody that is like that, you can absolutely do that. And whenever I'm so I'm a business growth consultant as well for a home care company. And whenever I'm doing consultations and strategy days with my business owners, I always say to them, what I would say BHAG, which is your big, hairy, audacious goal. And that's not like, I don't know, to have doubled my revenue in the next 5 years, because of course you want to do that. But
Yeah.
what is your absolutely out this world massive goal and I think it's really important for people to have that and have that kind of drive to be and have where they want to be eventually one day, hopefully in a dream, because that actually can come true. It's actually not a big, hairy, audacious goal. You can do anything you put your mind to. And I think the other thing that I am very big with when supporting people and supporting managers and developing people is that they share their hearts and their whys as to why they're doing what they're doing with the team around them to get them on board and believe in that.
Absolutely, love that. I think that's a great mantra. So obviously, there's two questions that I've now come up with what you said there. So, who is your believer? So, as someone who is at the the lead in the organisation, often you are that top person. So, who is the person who's believing in you? You can sort of reach out to.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think my why and why I do what I do is my mum and brother, and seeing their challenges that they've had with their condition, and it's deteriorating. So that's I always find with me, my kind of vision is that I am very blessed and very lucky and very able-bodied to do what I do. So that's probably why I do as much as I do. And I'm also currently doing my first bodybuilding competition
Wow.
in September this year. So every morning I get up at 5 o'clock to go to the gym and work out and get my steps and do my cardio. And rather than seeing that as, oh God, I can't bother getting out of bed today, like I'm knackered, or done my essay last night, I was working all day yesterday, I see that as how lucky am I to be able to get up and move my body and go to the gym. So I think it's all about mindset and perspective and how you position it within you. And my friend Paula gave me this fantastic thing one time when I was really struggling to get out of bed in the morning. She does the count to 5 rule, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you've got to get up because it doesn't let your brain have the time to think anything else. So I think it's just finding strategies that work for you.
Oh, I think that's brilliant. Do you know that count to 5 is something I use? I'm trying to run more, so I do park run and 10Ks and so on. That's my big achievement. But there's points, when you have a breather and you go, I don't think I can run again, and I do that count to 5. Go right, no, 1, 2, and I focus on that, and that weirdly helps me. Because otherwise they're going, I can't do this. It's too painful. It's too far. It's like no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then get moving. Always seems to work. So actually, I love that's actually sort of aligned with that. So the other question then, what is your big, hairy, audacious goal?
So my big, hairy, audacious goal is for Daughterhood UK to be across the whole of the UK and be franchised out into every area and territory within the UK to support unpaid carers in the community and retain them in the workforce.
Wonderful. So I assume if someone's now listening to this and going, oh, I need to do that, I assume get in touch with you.
Yeah,
And you'll take
absolutely.
it from there. Fantastic. I hope literally, you are moving forward to that goal. Sort of linked with this then, because there's a number of elements here around sort of learning and development. So, what was your biggest learning experience as a manager?
I think my biggest learning as a manager was exactly what I was talking about earlier, in that we need to lean into where we feel uncomfortable. And for me, it used to be having difficult conversations. It's not now. But I think the biggest learning for me as a manager is I need to lean in more where I'm uncomfortable, because that is where I'm going to develop more as a person and as a leader and as a manager. So the more uncomfortable it is for me, the better I feel about doing it, because I know that is where I'm going to develop the most.
And do you take sort of time then to reflect on that afterwards, to sort of go actually reflect on what you have achieved, and how do you do that? How do you? Because it sounds like you're achieving so much, which is absolutely amazing. So how do you take that time out to take stock of what you've accomplished?
That's a really good question, because I think as humans we don't, do we? Like I was literally thinking before, massive imposter syndrome, going on a podcast to talk about leadership. That's crazy, wild, insane. And the old me that used to got told she was too nice and don't do your GCSEs because you're not going to pass them and whatever, would be like, you're going on a podcast to talk about leadership. Who do you think you are? But I think I don't take the time, if I'm really honest. I think I'm just on to the next thing and on to the next thing. And I think sometimes it's about taking stock, which I had like a moment before I came on here, like just acknowledging, all right, okay, we've got a lot further that we want to go, but actually how far have we come? And let's just take a moment to appreciate that as well. And I think naturally we don't do that as humans, do we? But it is really important to do so.
Absolutely, and celebrating all those big key achievements, or even the little tiny milestones, of moving forward. I think it's really important. And if you could give some advice to a new manager, someone literally at the start of their game, they're listening to this now, what would it be?
My advice to anybody would be get a coach, 100%. Daniel's fantastic coach, by the way. But I think the power in even coaches need coaches, Daniel,
Yes.
right? I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll say. I'm sure you're probably coached by somebody. Like
Absolutely.
everybody needs, it's that continuous improvement and development. And I think find out who you are and understand who you are authentically, and be that, and don't let anybody steer you any different from that. You won't be for everyone. I always say now, like, I shouldn't be like, if I'm liked by everyone, I'm doing something wrong because I've not stood up for something that I believe in. So find out who you are, and lead with that. And your vibe will attract your tribe, right? So whatever that is and whoever that is will find you along the way. And the other thing I'm really big on, which isn't really relevant to this, but find your data and use your data to drive your business forward.
Oh, tell me a bit more about that. How do you do that in terms of data? Tell me a bit more.
So in relation to the business growth consultant role in which I do, and what I see in home care a lot, but in businesses generally and typically speaking, is we are trying to grow our businesses without understanding the data behind them. And we want to grow, but we're not taking the time out to look at the data and use it. And my business owner that used to manage me would be laughing now, actually, listening to me talk about this, because he used to come and talk to me as a registered manager and be like, oh, Nic, do you know how many inquiries we've had this month? I'd be like, David, I don't want to talk about the inquiries, just want to make a difference to people's lives. And he really helped me with that, and as well as coaching. But Now I go into offices and I'm always like, right, how many inquiries have we had? How many consultations have you had? How many conversions have you had? So your growth mapping, you need to understand what that pins down to in relation to how many inquiries you need to come in your business, how many you need to convert, how many clients are you losing, what's your net gain, how many do you need to ensure that you've got a net gain, and really kind of driving growth through data.
Totally agree. I think that's something that I'm often talking about in terms of like facts, figures, data, numbers. So you've got the argument, particularly if you're going to a leader to say, you know, I need more investment or I need support on this, to be able to then back that up and go, this is what we've dealt with. These are the numbers, and it's not just a personal feeling. It's not a gut feeling. It's backed up, and yeah, it demonstrates you know what you're talking about. 100%. Great advice, and yeah, 100% totally agree with the coach. As you know, mentioned before, it's my light bulb moment, and I am still a coach now, and it really helps me, and it helps navigate that whole world. And I think a mentor is really good, and sort of that business role that you're talking about is almost that sort of mentorship aspect. But equally, having the balance of having someone ask really insightful questions and pulling out the true you, not who you're trying to aspire to be, or who you think you should be, or whatever it's, but actually who you should be, and from your intrinsic skills. 100%. And with that one question about intrinsic, what is your number one intrinsic motivator? I feel I can sense what this would be.
So I think my intrinsic motivator is to make a difference to people around me, and to try and be that person to somebody that I had to me, and enable somebody to believe in themselves and drive themselves out of their kind of cage of where they are at the moment, and to believe that they can actually fly and set their goals and be what they want to be.
Love that. I can totally get why that gets you up in the morning and drives you forward. And I can really hear the passion, and I'm sure that is absolutely what you're doing, and that really positive impact. So thank you for that. Now, because that was the question that was from Nicholas Ward, my previous guest, you get to ask a question for a future podcast guest.
Oh, do I?
Yeah. What's that question?
I suppose my question for somebody would be, what is one belief about leadership that you've completely changed your mind about, that you've really previously highly advocated and fought for, and across your journey of leadership has changed, and now you do the opposite? What's the one thing that's changed with that?
That's a brilliant question. Do you have an answer for that? Is there something that's changed in your mind?
Mine would be that I didn't want to have difficult conversations because how I was going to make that other person feel. And now I think the more challenging the conversation, not the more challenging, but I now would lean into challenging conversations, because I know the fantastic outcomes having those challenging conversations can have.
Absolutely. Which reminds me of a previous podcast where somebody had that difficult conversation that no one else had. And for that individual that they were having it with, it was the most impactful conversation, and it literally changed their lives. They were made redundant as because of it, but that was actually 100% the right thing in retrospect, and you know they were being held back. So yeah, it's a really powerful thing to actually go into that difficult conversation.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the thing as leaders and as managers is we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Absolutely. I like that. Uncomfortable being uncomfortable. Definitely.
Yes.
And
yeah, lean into it more.
That's a really, really good point. And with that in mind, if you do want to listen to that previous podcast, it's by Michelle Parry Slater. Listen back now. Now, that's all the main questions over with, and we've got the quick 5 questions, which go with your gut reaction, you know, that gut feeling, and we've got 5. So the first one is, what's your book recommendation?
So I typically don't read books because I just struggle finding time to do it. However, because I'm at the gym every morning at the moment on the treadmill for an hour getting my steps in, I've been reading a book. So the book I've been reading is called Traction, Get a Grip of Your Business by Gina Wickman, and it provides you with a fantastic framework for your business. It's based on the entrepreneurial operating system, but it provides you with lots of tools to put into your business that will support it and pivot it with growth.
Love that. And out of interest, are you actually reading a book, or is it like an audio book?
No, I'm reading it. I'm a read. I can't even do the Kindle thing. I like to have a book.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. You should probably tell behind me I need the firm book. I always go back to them and reference them. So yeah, love that. Can you suggest someone to follow on LinkedIn?
Daughterhood UK, obviously.
Standard, yeah, absolutely.
And Daniel Taylor.
Absolutely, loving the plugs. Thank you very much. And what's your favourite quote?
Anything you put your mind to. You can do anything you put your mind to.
Spot on. I'm feeling very inspirational after this conversation. What's your best interview question that either you ask or is asked of you?
What's your why?
What's your why?
Yeah. Why do you do what you want to do? Why? What drives and motivates you to be who you are, and what's your why?
And do you know what? That's a really good question. People listening now, press pause, take a moment just to think about what is your why. And actually, if you're unclear, again, linking back to the coaching point, that might be something just to work on, or speak to colleagues, friends, relatives. Can you really clarify what that is? And I think if you get to that, then you're on the right path. And I love this last question to end on. What song describes you best?
What song describes me best? That is a really hard question because I love music. Like the minute I get up in the morning, I've got music on. When I'm reading my book on the treadmill, I've got my music on. I love music, but there's so many songs. That is such a hard question. Gosh, what song would I? There's one song at the moment that I listen to. I was just trying to find the name of it because I listen to it repeatedly. And I wouldn't say it describes me, but what I would say is it helps. It would help anybody going through a hard time or anyone having questions about belief in themselves. It's called Lifeboat and it's by Ray. And it's basically about not giving up on yourself and believing in yourself. I always, if I'm having a really hard 5 minutes doing cardio, it's literally on my ear, in my ears. So definitely have a listen to that because it is a fantastic pick-me-up. But it doesn't describe me, but that's the one I would recommend.
Perfect. And I love the links. I love where, with this particular question, where people go with it, because it's such a personal thing and also how tough it is, because songs are so, important for so many different reasons. So yeah, totally like that. And I will add it to the playlist, which is on Spotify. And thank you ever so much for joining me on today's podcast.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
And if you've enjoyed today's conversation, hit the subscribe button to join our community. And if you want more, go to managingpotentialpodcast.com to sign up for the newsletter and get regular leadership insights delivered straight to your inbox. But until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.